Hello, class. This is Sunday, November 8th. This is Latin 101, Professor Barbara Wyman. And today we're going to be going over the grammar so we can translate Chapter 5 in Latin via Ovid, Minerva et Arachne. This is the Part 3, the gripping conclusion. We're going to see how that rash maiden Arachne gets the smackdown from Minerva. The main grammar in this chapter is going to be the imperfect past tense, and it's really easy to recognize because it has a distinctive BA in the ending that we are going to learn how to use. But before we do that, let's look at our vocab. And there's not too much new vocabulary here. So let's review what we've learned. That the nouns that end in A are first declension, and the second listing is the genitive singular ending. And you've been practicing how to decline those, and most everybody's doing really well on that on your test. So Arania is spider, and Phoctes, Norma just giving this to us as a vocabulary word, so we're not going to worry too much about the declension pattern of that one. Jupiter and Yahweh, this is a third declension, and we haven't gotten to that yet, but we need to use Jupiter or Zeus for the story. So this is the nominative, Jupiter, and Yahweh is the ablative form. So you don't need to really worry about that too much, except when it appears in the translation. This can be third declension. Misericordia, it's a noun ending in A. Genitive singular is A-E. It means pity. This is a cool word because miser means sad, and cordis means heart. So this is a compound word. Sad heart is pity. Misericordia. Rapina, A-E, so it's first declension. It means carrying off a robbery. That's its, I guess, the main definition of it. But as you can see, it's a cognate for something else, and we'll let the story tell you the meaning of that one. Our verbs, we've talked about two categories of verbs, the ones that have the ARE in the second listing and the ones that have the ERE. ARE are first conjugation, ERE are second conjugation. And to conjugate them both, we're going to whack off the RE, and I'm going to do that for you in just a minute. But muto, mutare is first conjugation, to change, to mutate. Neko, nekare is first conjugation, means to kill. Pendeo, pendere, the second conjugation with the ERE means to hang. And prohibeo, prohibere, second conjugation means to prevent. There were adjectives, bonus, bona, longus, longa, malus, mala, minimus, minima. So all of these are going to match the nouns they modify. So if we're having a, let's see, bona arania, a good spider. So these all end in A. Well, we're not going to worry about that one right now. But these end in A because they're going to be matching our first declension nouns. And then the other words, you just have to memorize. A or ab, depending on what's before a vowel or a consonant, means from or away from. Eterno, eternally. Dende, then. Denique, and then or finally. Itaque, Latine, in Latin. Maxime, minime, neque, optime, primo. Okay, so you have to memorize these. So the next page is where we're introduced to the imperfect past tense. Imperfect means that it's ongoing action. And generally, when we translate something that's ongoing action, we're going to use this second form. Okay, I'm going to show you how to form these in just a second. But when you're looking back in your book, Wokabam, to say this means I called, this is just the simple past tense without a helper. It's completed action, when actually imperfect past is action that's ongoing or habitual. I was calling. Okay, and so you need to use the helper verb and then the ing form. This is the form that's the best translation for the imperfect past, even though Norma gives us these other aspects. You don't really need to worry about those. Just worry about the second form, okay? The was, were, helpers. And so this is for first conjugation, and this is for second conjugation. First conjugation, when you whack off the RE, you notice how that A remains with the stem. It's because it's first conjugation. And that E remains with the stem. It's because it's second conjugation. So the same thing is that we're going to just deal with the second definition that Norma gives. Not that these are wrong, because they're in the book. Of course, they're not wrong. This is just the most literal for ongoing action. So let me get my board here, and we'll show, or we'll learn how to do the imperfect past tense. So these are the only principal parts we're dealing with right now. Muto, mutare, first principal part, second principal part. And we know that we whack off the RE to get the stem. And after we do that, remember we will write down the stem 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times. And then we know our endings. OST, moose, tis, nt. For the present tense, OST, moose, tis, nt. And when we hook those on to the stems, that gives us the person, the persons, the pronoun. I change, you change, he, she, or it changes. Moose means we change, y'all change, they change. Last chapter, we didn't really talk about first conjugation because there's one little wacky thing. You can still follow your pattern where you just whack off the RE, but for some reason, well, actually it's the reason is because two vowels together, they just finally got assumed into each other. So on first conjugation, that A is removed, and so it's really muto, muto, but you can still do your pattern that way. And if on a test you left that A in there and didn't whack it out, I wouldn't mark it wrong because it's nice to follow the system. And it probably originally was there, mutao, and then just over time it became muto. So I hope that's not too confusing. Our next tense, imperfect past, has a fun set of endings. And you just memorize the whole thing. Bom, ba, spot, bomu, spot to spot. Just like my paper. My paper rubbed off some of the marker. Bom, ba, spot, bomu, spot to spot. That's an A. Bom, ba, spot, bomu, spot to spot. These are the endings that you're going to hook onto the same stem to form the imperfect past. It's really easy. See our muta, muta, muta? So we'd put down 6 mutas up here. We're going to put down 6 more mutas right here. Latin's very regular in its verb forms. And just a little hint, when we get to the future tense, guess what? We're going to use the same 6 muta, muta, muta. So we're going to hook the bomba spot to the muta. Muta bom, muta bas, muta bot, muta bamus, muta batis, muta bot. Okay? Muta bom, muta bas, muta bot, mutabamus, mutabatis, mutabant. And this is the was were helper. I was changing. You were changing. He, she, or it was changing. We were changing. Y'all were changing. They were changing. So the imperfect past, you can see the thing that you look for is that ba, 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 ba. They all have ba's in them. Okay? So that's the imperfect past for the regular verbs. And the second conjugation will work exactly the same thing. You'll just whack off the RE on the infinitive. Works exactly the same. And the book has an example of that. Now we're going to go to the to be verb because that's also in this chapter. We've already learned that the to be verb sum esse is irregular. It's irregular in most languages, in English, and of course in the Romance languages that derive from Latin. And we just had to learn the form. Sum est, sumus est sunt. That's the present tense. Sum est, sumus est sunt. Ost, mustes enti. Bambas bat, bamus bates bat. Sum est, sumus est sunt. It's fun. It's easy. It's not a hard thing to have to learn. Not that much to memorize, and it kind of just rolls off the tongue. And so here is I'm going to translate the sum est. I am, you are, he, she, or it is, we are, y'all are, and they are. Okay. We, y'all, they, I, you, he, she, or it. The imperfect tense, you do the same thing. You just memorize the whole form with the to be verb. No whacking off REs or anything. So for the to be verb in the imperfect past is eram. My E got kind of messed up there. Eram, eras, erat, eramus, eratus, erant. Eram, eras, erat, eramus, eratus, erant. Okay, and that means I was, you were, y'all were, we were, y'all were, no, excuse me. I was, you were, y'all. I messed up. He, she, it. Okay, sorry. It's like in class. I make mistakes like that all the time. I was, you were, he, she, it. Was. Okay. We were, y'all were, they were. So let's go over that again. Eram, eras, erat. Eramus, eratus, erat. The T means he, she, or it. So I don't know what I was thinking. I was, you were, he, she, or it was, we were, y'all were, they were. Okay? So Norma has all of this listed out for you, and so you can check it out, make that E better. Eram, eras, erat, eramus, eratus, erat. The to be verb, along with the new endings for imperfect past.